Hey, Cheer Extreme, it's Dr. Tiff, and I am so excited to be able to bring you guys some fun content. I know it's been super hard to not be in the gym. I'm a gym rat myself, and when I don't have my routine and my consistency, it's super hard for me to stay motivated. I don't have my teammates there. So I think it's awesome that your coaches and your parents and the whole community is just trying to give you guys some really awesome content the next couple weeks as we get through this unstructured time. And I wanted to bring a couple of topics. So today's topic is going to be about nutrition, how to fuel your body, how to stay healthy, how to get strong, how to really maximize your performance by putting the right type of fuel in the tank. And so what we know about performance athletes is it's so important that we're providing our body with quality nutrition, consistent nutrition, and also finding some balance with some fun foods and some fuel foods. And we're going to talk about all that stuff because I know that the audience I'm talking to, we got a big range of ages and ability levels and competitive mindsets. And so I want to make sure I'm just giving you guys some great information. I'm going to share some screens with you here so that you guys can have some content. I'll also forward the documents to you guys so you can have them. So I'm just going to share with you my screen here, and hopefully you guys can see this. This is just some basics of nutrition. We're going to go through that a little bit, and then we'll talk some detail as well. And if you guys have specific questions, I'll be sure to give you guys my contact information. But let's just get into the basics of nutrition. I don't know how much you guys are educated on this. Again, I know we've got a lot of different age groups we're talking to here, but there's three main nutrients. When you're talking about performance nutrition, we're talking about where your body gets energy, how your muscles contract, how you move through your events, how you recover your body, you put on muscle if you're looking to get stronger. All of that comes down to three main nutrients. You've got carbohydrates, you've got protein, and you've got fat. And so when you look at each of those nutrients, they all serve a purpose. Look at just the word carbohydrate. And if you guys can see my document, you can see I've capitalized hydrate because carbohydrates hold water. That's their molecular structure. So they're hydrating your body and your cells. They're also giving you fuel for performance. They're the primary fuel source for both endurance and anaerobic or high impact, high intensity exercise when you're looking at training. And the key thing about carbs is we have to understand the purpose. So yes, they provide us fuel, but some types of carbohydrates give us really quick energy, meaning as soon as we eat it, we kind of feel like we're on a high. So think about if you drink a sugary soda or you eat candy or you have something super sweet that goes into your body quick and you can really use that, even fruit at some level. When you look at something like a banana or orange or fruit juices, where you know you need something quick, you're about to hit the mat or you're about to go out on stage and you feel like you need that boost of energy, that's what's called a quick burning carb or a simple carb. So some examples of that, I just went through a few of them. Fruit, both whole fruit. Now whole fruit's going to be a little less of an immediate because it has fiber. What happens when we eat fiber is it's not soluble in the body, so it takes us a lot longer to is when we have that carbohydrate that's quick, we want to make sure we're breaking it down as fast as we can, depending on how much time we have before competition. So if you're somebody that practices super early in the morning, let's say you're hitting the gym at 6 a.m. and you don't want to get up 2-3 hours before to eat and be able to digest and utilize that performance fuel, then you probably want to stick with something a little bit quicker burning. Something like white starches. So if it's something where you need more immediate versus long-term energy, you might do a white bread or white rice or an enriched pasta, where from a nutritional standpoint, the whole grains are going to be a bit more healthy because they've still got a lot of that fiber and germ and nutrition in them that get stripped from that refining process. But there are situations and performance-based circumstances where we need the more refined types of starches. So when you're looking at your nutrition from a performance versus a weight loss or health standpoint, sometimes you have to take a little bit of a different approach and find a good balance there. Also, something like honey, jelly, table sugar, things again that you can add. So let's say you're going to have oatmeal. That's a good slow burning whole grain carbohydrate, but maybe you need a little boost of also some simple carbs. You could put honey in it. Or if you're having a piece of whole grain toast, maybe you put jelly on it. So you've got some simple and some complex. Those slow burning carbs, those complex, what I'm talking about, they have multiple sugar molecules in them. So your body has to break them down and use them a little bit, break them down and use them. So that would be something the night before a big tournament or competition, or in the morning knowing you've got a whole long day to go, you want to work some of those complex carbohydrates in so you've got some good sustainable energy through the day. That's where your whole grains come in, brown rices, whole wheat breads and wraps, whole wheat pastas, sweet potatoes, those kinds of things that are going to stick with us. And just be mindful of things like your beans or your pastas, because if you're putting spicy sauces on or if you're having beans, they can have some gastro impact, right? Think about how our bodies kind of respond to some of those real high fiber foods. So that's something where when you're going into a competition, you certainly don't want to start trying new foods. Know what your body likes, find consistency in that. So that's your carbohydrate. Your second source of energy, it's not a huge source of energy. I think that the industry of big food right now is trying to promote protein as an energy source, and really it gives us very little energy value. What the purpose of protein really is to recover our breakdown from muscle growth, muscle usage, weight training, strength training. Anytime we're fatigued and our body is broken down, we need to repair it and recover it, and that's what protein's job is. And so thinking about how we are utilizing and where we're getting our protein sources, and there's a lot out there about plant versus animal protein now, and just understanding that some and most plant-based proteins are not complete, meaning they don't give you all the essential amino acids you need. That doesn't mean you can't get them. You just have to combine different types of plant proteins through the day to make sure you're hitting each of the essential amino acids in those. Now, quinoa, buckwheat, and soy are 3 complete plant-based proteins. In addition, eggs and dairy kind of ride that line for some people, where even if you're trying to stay away from animal protein, you might be able to integrate some eggs or dairy in to give you some complete protein. But all animal protein, be it fish, beef, pork, poultry, any of those are going to give you all the essential amino acids your body needs to get the most benefit from those nutrients. So again, I'm not advocating one or the other, but just understand the difference. And if you do choose to follow a more plant-based diet, that you need to understand which sources are giving you certain amino acids to make sure you're getting some beans, some lentils, some peas, some chickpeas, quinoas, soy, combining all those different types to get what you need and give your body the most benefit from a performance standpoint. A couple other things, a lot of people, especially when they're looking at putting on muscle or getting stronger, they have this mindset of, I just need to eat more protein and I'll put on muscle. Well, unfortunately, it's not like Popeye eating spinach. You don't just eat it and get bigger. You have to train in addition to fueling your body the right way. So understanding how much protein, the timing, and also making sure your training is helping you to assimilate or synthesize, meaning take that protein and turn it into lean muscle. And so less is not always more, more is not always less. You just have to find the sweet spot for your protein needs. For most athletes doing some kind of strength-based activity, whether it's weight training for gymnastics and cheerleading, you're obviously doing a lot of body weight movements, so there would be some breakdown there. About 45 grams per meal is the max that anybody can assimilate, and that's an adult body. So kiddos, you guys can definitely be on the lower end of that. Mom and dad, if you're watching, protein pre-puberty is not going to make a huge difference. We just want to make sure they're staying strong, their bones are staying healthy, and they're getting a good block of protein at each meal. but we certainly don't need to be worrying about gram per pound of body weight and things like that. Now, for developing adult bodies and people that are doing some really structured strength training, getting in about 0.85 to 0.9 grams per pound of body weight is a good amount. So if you're looking again at somebody that weighs 100 pounds, that's about 80, 90 grams of protein a day. And you guys can do the math to kind of find out what's ideal and then how to space it through the day, because our body doesn't really break down and assimilate more than about 45 grams per meal. So if you're trying to eat, let's say 120 grams, you don't want to eat 85 in one meal. You want to have a nice distribution through the day. I've given you guys lower a little bit more information on protein. Then we talk about fats, like focus on fit fats. And what I mean by that are fats that have a good, healthy, unsaturated fat content and a little bit less emphasis on your saturated fats like your creams, your whole milk dairies, your high fat beef and protein sources. You want to make sure you're doing that in moderation and trying to get most of your fats from leaner sources and unsaturated, like your olive oils, your avocado. Salmon and mackerel are your fattier fish, good omega-3s, nuts, nut butters. So those are quick snacks, apple and peanut butter, trail mix, beef and pork in the leaner forms when you can. And if you can get a grass-fed, great. But again, I'm not somebody that advocates all grass-fed or all organic. You have to find what works for you guys. Your coconut oils, chia and flax seeds, all that stuff that you can kind of add in and just get some good nutrients through that. And just also remember, you need to have some fun too. It's okay to have a donut, have some pizza, have some saturated fat, have ice cream after a big competition. It's about finding the timing. That's probably not what you want to eat pre-competition or pre-show, but something maybe afterwards to celebrate. So finding a good balance there. Usually if you look at your total calorie needs, about 25 to 30% of those are coming from fats. And then again, within those fats, more focus on the healthier unsaturated sources of fats. It's just going to help with body function, cellular function, mental clarity. It's not, again, people I think are overeating fats with a lot of this keto approach right now, super low carb. And there's some science there, but I think for athletes, the balance is going to be a lot more beneficial and sustainable than finding some of these more restrictive, less sustainable approaches to nutrition. All right. Something else I wanted to touch on, hydration, huge. 2% loss of body water. So just 2% of your body weight lost from water can affect athletic performance. So talking about a 150-pound athlete, that's just 3 pounds of water. And as much as they're sweating out there and training, especially in the heat as we get into the spring and summer months, hydrating. And when you do sweat, especially excessively, and you lose sodium, you're losing what we call electrolytes. And electrolytes are a lineup of vitamins and minerals that are giving your body the nutrient value that it needs, specifically looking at calcium, chloride, phosphate, potassium, magnesium, sodium, and sodium probably the most primary because it's what moves water in and out of our cells, keeps us hydrated, allows us to prolong fatigue. And so that's why some of these sports drinks add in sodium, and they also add that carbohydrate, right, to rehydrate the cell. The ideal amount, and again, this depends on how big of a sweater you are. I think we overdrink sports drinks, especially because they taste good. So know if you really need it versus you're using it because it's a sports drink and you're being active and you're an athlete. You don't always need the carbs and the sodium. It's only in specific circumstances where you're really depleted. So something like Powerade, Gatorade, they are the 6 to 8% carbohydrate concentration that science has deemed ideal for rehydrating electrolytes and the carbohydrate replenishment of our cells. Things like Propel fall more in that 4%. And then, crazy milk is one of the highest in terms of the carb concentration because it's got the sugar in it, but it is a very hydrating liquid, which is why a lot of people talk about chocolate milk being a great recovery drink, and the reason being because it also has your protein in it. So again, something that you might look at if you've got close shows, you're going on stage, you're taking a break, going back out there, a chocolate milk somewhere in there, replenish some protein, give you some healthy fats, get some sugar in your system. It is a good combination. Again, knowing it does have some sugar in it, so you want to be mindful of how you utilize it. Ideally, you're going to be staying ahead of hydration, right? Once you're thirsty, performance has already been impacted. Thirst is not a good indicator of dehydration. Once you get thirsty, you've already rolled into dehydration. So you want to stay ahead of the curve. Drinking consistently, ideally 4 to 8 ounces every 15, 20 minutes, starting to drink first thing in the morning so that you're staying hydrated, but also being mindful of the amount. Again, keeping it moderate, 4 to 8 ounces, that's a half cup to a cup every 15, 20 minutes, just to keep your body hydrated. Water is never a bad idea. And again, I know it gets boring, but water is our best way to stay balanced and hydrated and utilizing these sports drinks and alternatives when we need them. So understanding what those nutrients are, right? Your carbs, fats, proteins, what their purpose is when you need them, and also staying hydrated. Those are the first two things as an athlete to really start to digest, no pun intended, and understand so that you can maximize your performance. And the last thing I want to talk about is just supplementation, because I get a lot of questions about this, especially as athletes. Do I need a pre-workout drink? Do I need to be taking creatine if I'm a male athlete or a female looking to put on muscle? What is creatine? Also, what about protein bars and shakes and all of these other crazy things that you see? And there's so many options. So first I want to just talk about what the best type of protein is, because when you buy a protein powder or a supplement, there's all different types. You've got casein protein, you've got egg white protein, you've got your milk derivatives, your casein and your whey protein, you've got soy protein. This chart just kind of shows you the quality and the digestibility. So a 1 on this protein digestibility scale is the optimal number. So you look at something like casein, again, milk is made up of whey and casein, so it's a milk derivative. Egg, milk as a whole, whey protein, soy protein, those are all complete proteins. They're going to be the highest protein digestibility and amino acids, meaning giving you the most from those essential amino acids. And you can see that whey down here and the egg protein. Those are the two net utilization. Your body's going to most readily uptake and utilize those two sources. So for me, unless you have a lactose intolerance and you want to stay away from the milk derivatives, a whey protein powder to make a shake or to stir into your oatmeal or even to put in with your yogurt to give you a little bit more boost of protein is probably your safest and your most complete option for making a good shake or bake with. You want to make protein pancakes or muffins. Egg white protein would be your second. And when you go to a GNC or a Vitamin Shopper online, you can order those specific types of protein powders, and it's always a good backup to have in case you don't have time to sit and have a full meal. A shake is something really super easy you can do after practice or just on the way to a tournament or competition in the morning if you don't feel like you want something solid on your tummy. And then bars and shakes, thinking about the what and the why. If you need a quick boost of energy, you can go something a little more simple carb like a Cliff Bar or a granola bar, a Nutri-Grain bar that's giving you more sugar, doesn't have really the protein blends in there, but you don't need it, right? If you're looking for something more meal replacement or recovery, you want that balance. So something more like an RX bar, something like a pure protein bar. I also like the MRE bars, the Meal Ready, that's a Redcon is the brand. They give you some carbs, some fats, some protein, and they're in a nice balance. even the Luna protein. So just looking for something with about 15 to 20 grams of protein in it, some moderate fats, 10 grams in there, and then obviously you're gonna have some carbohydrate variability. But if it's something like a Cliff Bar, it's gonna have less protein and a lot more carbs, but that's okay because that's the purpose, feeding that energy, or it's something that you're going in trying to get just a little bit of extra help there. So those are some just things to think about when you're bombarded with that protein bar aisle and you're not sure, thinking about, okay, why am I eating this? Is it for recovery? Is it a pre-workout? Or is it just something that I'm using as a meal because I'm not going to be able to sit down and eat a nice balanced meal? That's where you want a good balance of those carb, fat, protein on the food label versus just like a one-sided option. The last thing I wanted to talk about was creatine in terms of supplements, because a lot of people ask me about that, especially male clients that are looking to maybe bulk up a little bit. That's not to say women can't take creatine, but it's certainly less common in my experience. And just understanding that creatine is a natural compound in the body, so it's not an abnormal substance, but you would be putting it in a more condensed, a more isolated form, so your body's going to uptake and utilize it more readily than when you just get it through food, like eating a steak or red meat. Just knowing that it should only be introduced in post-puberty state. So if you're not producing testosterone, if you're not producing growth hormone, it's not going to give you the same benefit. And in fact, I would not suggest doing it until after you've actually gone through puberty and you've been consistently strength training and implementing solid nutrition for 12 weeks. That way your body is in a rhythm. It understands recovery. It understands the neurological adaptation to strength and weight training. And then you add in that extra element. So again, it will help with recovery. It does reduce fatigue. It does help you to be able to go in the gym day after day and push a little bit harder so that you get more adaptation. But you want to make sure you're not falsely using that. So until you know your body and you know how you already recover naturally, you know your limitations, because if you introduce something like that that's giving you the ability to recover, you don't want to over push, you don't want to over stress because you have this extra help from a supplement. So I would suggest just giving yourself some time to get into a routine before you add in something like that. So I know I just quickly got through all, we could spend an hour on each of those, but I think for me and from what I felt like you guys would benefit most from at home is just a good base knowledge of the nutrients you're looking at. And when you look at a food label, what's my carb, what's my fat, what's my protein, how do I make this great performance meal combining these nutrients, and then what types of those sources, what quick and slow burning carbs, and strategically working those into my day around my training sessions and my competitions, when I need protein and how much, staying hydrated, staying ahead of hydration, working in some fun foods for sure. That's why we train hard, right? So we can have a little fun. And then also understanding what supplementation and the purpose and the benefit of that. So I hope that was helpful, guys. I'm going to be talking about mental skill set with you guys as well. That one's still to come. I'm going to send this PDF document to you so you guys can have it printed. I'm sure they'll email it out to you. But have fun on your break. Enjoy some time off. Enjoy some time with your family. And we'll be back in the gym soon. Talk to you then.